Hey, Broker!
Hey, Jimmy!
Broker!
I stand by the call.
Jimmy, back in the truck, please.
My son, a goddamn apology.
Take it easy.
It's my son. Somebody owes us a goddamn apology.
That's goddamn right. Get him, Jimmy. Get him, Jimmy.
hey.
Get in there.
Jimmy, stop it!
Take him down, Jimmy.
Whoa.
In Shreveport, Louisiana, a biker gang led by Danny T arrives at a bar during the late hours of the evening. However, they aren't just there for drinks and a good time. Instead, they file to the back, where a hidden meth lab is located. It's a sprawling operation producing drugs in bulk, as much as 30 pounds of crystal meth per batch. Just as they begin packing up for transport, the DEA suddenly invades. An intense gunfight breaks out, and Danny realizes that one of his men is actually an undercover agent. It's none other than Phil Broker, who also joins the fight. Outside, the building explodes due to the gunfire, while Danny and his son, Jojo, escape in a car. Broker quickly gives chase on a bike, followed by other agents in their cars. In no time, he catches up to Danny and shoots at the car, causing the bonnet to explode. He then pins Danny to the ground, but Jojo refuses to give up without a fight. That earns him a shot in the knee from Broker, as several other agents also surround him with their guns raised. Broker yells at him to drop his gun, but Jojo refuses and begins deliberately provoking the agents instead, committing self-deletion. Broker can't help the disturbed feeling rushing through him as he sees Jojo's body riddled with bullets, while Danny just looks helplessly. As he is taken away, he painfully vows to Broker,
"You one of us! You murdered my son! You're dead! Your kids are dead!"
The disturbing sight becomes a turning point for Broker as he resigns afterward. 2 years later, Broker and his daughter, Maddie, now live in a small town. At school, Maddie gets picked on by a kid named Teddy and his two friends. She warns him twice at first, but eventually snaps when Teddy pushes her to the ground. Before he realizes what hit him, Maddie punches him in the stomach, then throws a jab, breaking his nose. Well, nothing less is expected from Broker's daughter. At home, Broker and his friend Tito work together as partners in a contracting business. He gets a call from Maddie's school and instantly rushes over. When he arrives, he notices Sheriff Keith's car parked, then sees Teddy getting medical attention inside the school. Across the next few rooms, Cassie and Jimmy, Teddy's parents, are in a meeting with the principal and Keith, although it's less talk and more shouting because Cassie's voice can be heard from a distance. Susan, the school counselor, meets Broker in the hallway and directs him to where Maddie waits in the classroom. Cassie and Co. come out just then, and Cassie gets even more aggravated when she sees the blood on Teddy's nose. She uses a curse word to describe Maddie, but Broker isn't having it. However, Cassie is ready to go to war, but Keith and Jimmy pull her back. Broker, confused, wonders why Keith is around, and Susan says,
"For Cassie Bodine. Last time we had a scene with Cassie, she threatened the principal. Their son is a special needs case."
Well, Cassie should teach her son some manners. They both go to sit with Maddie, and she reveals she warned Teddy twice like she was supposed to. It's quite obvious that it's a defense lesson from her dad. He even admits this to Susan, and she sends Maddie out of the classroom so she can talk with Broker privately. She wonders why they moved to town since it's a very remote area, and Broker reveals Maddie's late mother grew up there, so he thought it'd be a good place to rebuild. According to Maddie's file, her mom passed recently and Broker confirms, saying it was last year. She was sick for a while, and the passing has been hard on Maddie. With no other questions, Broker is free to take Maddie home. When they get outside, Cassie and Jimmy are waiting by their car with Keith. Like the hot-headed person she is, Cassie pushes Jimmy to confront Broker, despite Keith's protest. Wanting to act like a man, Jimmy pokes Broker in the chest, asking him to apologize. Just as he's about to hit Broker, Broker easily intercepts and takes him down in one swoop, shutting Cassie up for the first time. He finally releases Jimmy and Keith helps Jimmy up. Cassie wants Keith to arrest Broker, but Keith is reasonable unlike her. He begins asking Broker personal questions, but Broker just says,
"Things got out of hand, Sheriff. It won't happen again."
The scene has drawn a bunch of teachers' attention, and Cassie gives Broker a look that says it isn't over before she enters the car. Seems the peaceful life Broker wanted with Maddie has been cut short. Cassie is still not calm as they drive off with Teddy, and she hurls Jimmy for being weak. She asks about their next line of action, pointing out that she wants to know how Broker bought his truck. She decides to call Gator, her brother, but Jimmy isn't on board with this. He wants it to be a family matter, but as far as Cassie is concerned, Gator is family. Just like his sister, Gator is also hot-headed. Seems it runs in the family. He is a drug dealer, and he confronts some teenagers for doing drug business in his area. Using a baseball bat, he teaches one of them a lesson and gives a warning, saying,
I got a 5-gallon can of gasoline out of my truck that I will happily pour down your throats if I ever catch you cooking and stinking up my town again.
With that said, he yells at them to get out, and they fearfully scamper for their lives. At home, Broker tucks Maddie into bed. telling her how proud he is that she stood up for herself. He wants her to set boundaries with Teddy and playfully hits her head with a pillow, making her smile. Before he leaves the room, she asks what he thinks of Susan. Guess she also has matchmaking on her skill set. Knowing his daughter, Broker doesn't indulge her and instead wishes her good night. When Gator arrives back home, he sees Cassie waiting for him. She refuses to be disrespected by Broker, but Gator feels the tackling Broker gave Jimmy isn't a big deal. He's even surprised to learn Keith was there, but Cassie reveals she heard Broker's house address. She asks,
"Can't you go over there and do some things?"
The things in question are for Gator to go and scare Broker at his house. Gator notices Cassie's jumpiness, and she admits she needs drugs. Well, that explains her crackhead nature. Gator gives her some, but says,
I can control it. You can control it, right?
She thanks him with a peck on the cheek, and he agrees to handle Broker. The next morning, Broker watches Maddie riding a horse, and he can't help his mixed emotions. He drives her to school afterward, and when they see Susan, Maddie gives him a mischievous smile, making Broker grin widely. While leaving the school, he asks for Susan's help planning a birthday party for Maddie, and she gladly agrees. He reveals that Maddie really likes her and wonders if she can talk to her sometime. Maddie used to talk to her mom for hours, and he thinks she'd like to talk to a woman more often. She agrees, but advises him to keep things smooth since he's new to town. People are already talking and asking questions about him, so she doesn't want him getting into trouble. Taking her advice, Broker heads over to meet Jimmy at his workplace and tries to settle since he doesn't want trouble. However, Jimmy wants an apology. Broker does this without hesitation and finally settles on good terms with him. He then drives to a filling station. Gator's boys, Lewis and Clay, also arrive with no good intention. Lewis walks up to Broker and asks for the fuel pump, even though he clearly sees Broker using it. When Broker doesn't pay him any attention, he shuts the tank off. The owner tells Broker the price, but Broker isn't done filling his tank. He turns it back on and continues his business. Seeing this, Lewis says,
"Why don't we step around the side of the building so I can kick your over your shoulders?"
He makes the mistake of grabbing Broker, and this unleashes the fight in him. He beats him up and gives the same treatment to Clay, who joins the fight. With the two men now writhing on the ground in pain, Broker asks Lewis who sent him, but Lewis doesn't give any name. With one last look, Broker enters his truck and drives off. At his lab, Gator gets a call and learns of the situation, making him frustrated. He then decides to deal with it himself. While driving Maddie home from school, they get pulled over by Keith. Outside the car, he asks Broker about the altercation, but Broker doesn't say anything since no one is pressing charges. Keith begins wondering if he's ex-military, but Broker feels he doesn't need to know. Before leaving, Keith tells him he has eyes on him. Back home, Broker and Maddie ride horses together as Gator spies on them. He stabs Broker's truck tire, then gains access to the house while Maddie and Broker talk about her mom by the river. With tears in her eyes, Maddie says,
"I miss her so much that my stomach hurts. And I get this feeling that she worries about you and that she wants you to be happy."
Broker comforts her, assuring her he's happy with her. Meanwhile, Gator steals one of Maddie's stuffed animals. He begins searching the house and notices a stack of files in one of the unpacked boxes. He takes one out and learns Broker is a former cop. He also sees the photo of him as an undercover agent, but the neigh of the horses alerts him to Broker and Maddie's return. He takes the file and begins sneaking out. Maddie calls out for her cat, but Gator adds it to what he steals. Later that evening, Maddie still hasn't found her cat, and she asks Broker, who's working in the yard, about him. Broker has also not seen him, making Maddie want to check, but he sends her back inside, promising to find him. Her bedtime comes and Broker still hasn't found him. Though she's unhappy about this, he assures her he'll find the cat and the stuffed animal. Ready with his flashlight, he goes out and begins calling for the cat. Meanwhile, Gator sits somewhere, going through the files. He learns Broker was the agent responsible for Danny's arrest. Broker notices his slashed tires, but still continues searching for the cat. Instead, he finds the torn head of the stuffed bunny impaled on a wooden stick. The next morning, Cheryl, Gator's ex-girlfriend, meets up with him and they share some intimate moments. Afterward, he reminds her of Danny and JoJo. Though Danny is still in prison, Gator knows he's messed up over losing JoJo. He tells her they never found out who snitched on Danny, adding,
"Because it wasn't just a snitch. It's a goddamn undercover cop."
He gives her the file to read. Meanwhile, Broker drives to Jimmy's workplace to confront him, thinking he's responsible for the trouble. He calls him out, but Jimmy has no idea what he's talking about. Broker just wants peace with Maddie and warns Jimmy not to escalate things. He also demands the cat back, giving him a deadline. Jimmy has never been more confused, but he agrees when he sees how serious and intimidating Broker is. Gator shows Cheryl the latest additions to his lab, revealing they're going to hand Broker over to Danny in exchange for statewide distribution. Cheryl reminds him the guys are bikers, so he can't trust them. She believes they'll kill Broker before giving him to Danny, which would leave Gator with nothing. but Gator just says,
Look, this means no more small-time jobs, no more sweating middlemen. All we do is cook and get paid.
He wants Cheryl to talk to Danny's lawyer. Cheryl can't believe what she's hearing, but Gator tells her she'll only be using them. She isn't doing it for money, but as a favor by giving them Broker. It still doesn't sit right with her, but Gator urges her to trust him, and she eventually agrees. At home, Broker gives Maddie a new stuffed bunny, making her happy. It's her 10th birthday the next day, and he tells her they'll celebrate with her class over the weekend. Maddie asks if Sarah can come, and he tells her she's the planner, which makes her even more excited. Putting the plan in motion, Cheryl meets with Works, Danny's lawyer, and gives him the file, calling it a gift for Danny before leaving. Wasting no time, Works visits Danny in prison and shows him the file. Danny recognizes Broker's face, realizing he's the one who killed Jojo. He wants to know where Broker is, and Works tells him Cheryl knows. Danny tells him to take care of Broker before he's led back to his cell. At school, Broker calls out to Cassie, who's dropping off Teddy. He signals Maddie, and she invites Teddy to her party, surprising Cassie. Teddy agrees, and the kids head inside happily. While working, Tito admits he's heard about Broker's situation with Jimmy. Broker tells him they've made peace, but Tito knows people in town don't shake hands and move on. It just never goes away that easily. Broker admits someone broke into the house, and Tito calls it normal country payback. Teddy still thinks Jimmy did it, but Tito is sure he didn't. Gator, on the other hand, is a whole different story. He tells Broker about Gator, saying,
Lives down by the Rayville watershed. Front is a boat mechanic, can't fix shit. But the word is he's cooking up that meth.
He warns Broker to be careful with Gator. Even Keith has an arrangement with him. He turns a blind eye to Gator's operation, and in return, Gator snitches to make his job easier. Tito also mentions Gator always eats breakfast at a cafe like him, warning that even though Gator doesn't look tough, he's definitely crazy. Meanwhile, Cheryl gets a call from Gator while waiting in a shack for Danny's contact. She starts panicking because they're sending Cyrus, a crazy hitman, for Danny. Gator tells her not to worry about that and focus on the deal. Easy for him to say, he's not the one meeting a serial killer. Maddie's party starts successfully and everyone has a great time. Cyrus and his team arrive at the shack, and he starts eating in front of Cheryl. He asks for Broker's location and what she wants in return. Cheryl keeps insisting it's just a gift, but Cyrus doesn't buy it. She finally mentions the distribution deal, which makes him laugh. He asks again for Broker's location, but Cheryl asks if they have a deal. He asks again, and she repeats the question, making Cyrus grab her by the neck. He threatens,
You got 5 seconds before I drill your skull into this table and then into the floor, you understand me?
At that point, Cheryl doesn't need more convincing. The party wraps up, and the highlight for Maddie is seeing Susan and Broker talking. She's definitely their biggest fan at this point. That evening, Gator goes to Cassie, telling her he's dealt with Broker. He wants her to stay away from him, but Cassie isn't listening. She asks for a fix instead, but Gator sticks to his point. He tells her he doesn't have any drugs, which makes Cassie go wild, yelling while Teddy listens from the window. Gator just tells her to clean herself up. He turns to leave, saying he's done with her. When he gets to his car, Jimmy confronts him and asks him to stop giving Cassie drugs because it's ruining her life. But Gator tells him to take better care of her, then leaves. That night, Broker gets a call from his DEA contact, who has looked into the situation like Broker asked. He learns about Cheryl, who's an ex-biker groupie from Shreveport, busted twice for smuggling, one of those runs for Danny. Now she's suddenly in town. Broker asks for a picture, thanks the agent, then ends the call. The next morning, he goes to the cafe Tito mentioned and finds Cheryl and Gator having breakfast. He walks up to their table, telling Gator they haven't been introduced. Gator says Broker's reputation precedes him, mentioning Jimmy and Teddy. Meanwhile, Cheryl looks like she wants to disappear into her seat. Broker says he's not there to cause trouble and doesn't want his kid involved in anything. He warns,
See the house where we're living. The house that was broken into by some pathetic coward who stole a little girl's toys, cat, slashed the tire. See, that's my house. Anyone who comes around again will find me standing in it.
Just then, Cheryl gets a call and steps away to answer. Broker turns to leave, but Gator calls out, saying his daughter has nothing to worry about with him as her tough father. Broker walks back, but doesn't take the bait. He just tells him to finish his breakfast like he's talking to a kid, and walks out. Cheryl tells Gator the attack on Broker is happening tonight, while Broker receives the pictures of Cheryl, realizing she's the one with Gator. Instead of going home, Broker goes to Gator's house and breaks into his lab. He searches the place and starts setting a booby trap. Once done, he's about to leave when he hears the cat meowing. He finds it, but one of Gator's thugs finds him too, pointing a gun at his head. Broker drops the cat and easily takes him down in seconds. He picks the cat up again, but another thug knocks him out from behind. He wakes up to find his head being submerged in water. When they pull him up, he sees Lewis, Clay, and other thugs around him. They know he's a cop now, and Lewis punches him repeatedly while Clay dunks his head again. Clay wants to finish before Gator returns, but Lewis refuses. He taunts Broker, even mentioning Maddie. This is a big mistake as Broker suddenly attacks. A brutal fight breaks out, but Broker frees himself and beats them all. He puts on his cap and tells Lewis,
"When I get home, I am going to tell my girl a bedtime story. Here's how it ends."
Then he stomps Lewis's face into the water. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Driving back, Broker holds the cat. He cleans himself up before seeing Maddie. Afterward, he picks up a box and tells her they're leaving town. Maddie refuses, confused since he said her mom wanted them to live there. Broker apologizes, but Maddie calls him a liar and walks away angrily. Meanwhile, Cyrus, the bikers, and Cheryl arrive at Gator's property. Getting to business, Cyrus asks where Broker lives and Cheryl gives directions. Gator offers to draw a map and details of the house, but Cyrus doesn't need it. He heads into the property with his men. Gator asks Cheryl why there's so many, but she doesn't know. In her room, Maddie starts packing her box, still angry. It's time for action, but Gator tells Cyrus he won't be going. He explains,
"Look, first person they're going to be looking for is me. So I'm not going to be anywhere near the site. I'm going to be in a public place."
Cheryl asks about Maddie, but Cyrus says they'll take her out too. Gator agrees, since there can't be loose ends. Cyrus decides to take Cheryl to show the way, despite Gator's displeasure. Tito arrives with a horse trailer hitched to his truck, and Broker thanks him. Tito asks if there's anything he needs to tell him, but Broker says he'll explain later. Meanwhile, Gator puts his alibi in play and meets up with Keith in town. He pours him a drink, claiming he's celebrating sales, then heads for the pool table. Immediately after Gator leaves, Keith pours the drink away. Seems like he doesn't trust his business partner after all. While loading the horses, Tito notices their worried neighs, making him alert. Cyrus and his team arrive, and he orders Cheryl to wait by the boat till they come back in 20 minutes. One of the bikers is sent in the horse's direction, and he takes out his gun, ready to shoot. Tito attacks from behind, knocking the gun from his hand, causing a tense fight to start. He gets the upper hand and begins landing punches, but the biker soon recovers. Just as he reaches for his gun to shoot, Tito grabs a pitchfork and impales him with it, ending his existence. Meanwhile, Broker continues packing inside the house, unaware of the danger on his doorstep. Tito presses his car horn repeatedly to warn him, which catches his attention. However, Tito gets shot. Broker quickly switches off the power in the house as Cyrus and his men begin moving forward. Broker calls out to Maddie, who fearfully asks what the sound was. Instead of answering, he shushes her, then takes her down to hide in the basement. Before leaving, he says,
"I need you to stay down here, okay, buddy? Dial 911. Tell them who you are, where you are. Tell them there's a man with a gun trying to get into the house, okay?"
He then retrieves his gun and goes to look by the window. Maddie calls 911, but she sees a biker outside, making her unable to talk. Immediately, one of the men kicks the door open. What welcomes him with wide arms is a gunshot, making him somersault backwards. Maddie lets out a sound at this, and the man in front notices her. He breaks in, but Broker shoots. Maddie begins running in fear as more men appear while Broker intercepts with his weapon. He uses one of the men as a shield before taking out another. Maddie continues running, but one of the men follows in hot pursuit. Broker calls out to Maddie, but the gunfire keeps him trapped from going after her. At the pool table, Gator receives a call from a panicked Cheryl, who says,
"Gator man, shit's gone wrong out here. There's too many gunshots all over the place."
He urges her to calm down and tell him what happened, but Cheryl is done playing games with her life. She tells him she's out. Gator hears sirens just then. Broker takes out another man and begins pursuing the one chasing Maddie. Just as he's about to catch her, Broker shoots his head, ending his life. Maddie turns and Broker sighs in relief, realizing she's not hurt. Unfortunately, the piece is cut short when Broker gets hit. He yells at Maddie to run as he and Cyrus begin a heated fight. Maddie soon sees Cheryl by the boat. Thinking she's a good person, Maddie asks her for help, trying to explain the situation, but Cheryl interrupts, saying,
"Listen, these guys, they don't give a about you, all right? They're gonna kill you. Do you understand?"
Broker and Cyrus continue fighting while Cheryl tells Maddie,
"You gotta come with me, okay? You have to come with me. Come on."
Broker and Cyrus continue their struggle while Maddie tries escaping Cheryl. Thankfully, Broker gains the upper hand and stabs Cyrus, ending his life. He then begins running towards Maddie as he hears her shouts. Unfortunately, it's too late, and Cheryl successfully drives the boat away with Maddie trapped inside. Keith arrives with the cops and sees Broker in front. He asks what is going on, and Broker says,
"They hit the house. My girl. By boat, headed south towards Boot Cove."
Keith is confused, but Broker tells him they tried to kill him and Maddie. Tito's truck rolls up but stops as he slumps on the wheel. Broker rushes to him and begins pressing his wound, asking for a medic. Keith tells him they have Maddie on the radio, and he rushes to answer. He promises to come for her, but asks who took her. However, Maddie doesn't know Cheryl, but she tells him the color of her hair. He tells her to hide the phone when they take her out and look for any landmark or anything at all. She confirms, but the connection gets lost, making Broker frustrated. He tells Keith to have them track his phone and get a state chopper to get there faster. Broker gives him specific details of what they're looking for, and Keith passes this along. He asks Broker about the men who attacked the house, and Broker tells him they're at the house. When Keith asks how he knows that, Broker just says,
"Trust me, I know."
Well, he's the one who put them there. Gator drives at full speed and leaves a voicemail for Cheryl, telling her to meet him at the shop. Another call comes from Maddie, and she tells Broker they're stopping. She quickly says the things she sees, but the connection gets lost again. Broker instantly realizes it's Gator's lab, and he drives off in the police car. The others also follow. Cheryl tries bringing Maddie out, but she hits her hand with the iron, leaving Cheryl in pain. When Gator arrives, he sees Cheryl and begins asking her questions, wondering what's happening. She has no idea where Cyrus and the men are, but when she says,
"I have the kid is here,"
Gator loses his composure. He becomes really angry that she brought a witness to him. He picks up his gun and cocks it, but Cheryl tries reminding him he doesn't kill kids. He's lost all rational thought as he continues yelling at her. A car pulls up, and it's Cassie and Jimmy. She asks about the shooting and a kidnapped Maddie, but Gator pretends not to know. When she hears Maddie's loud voice, she instantly moves forward. She turns the power on, but this sets off the booby trap, causing the place to blow up completely. Cheryl takes Maddie out safely, while Gator just watches his life's worth go up in flames. Cassie begins taking Maddie away, but Gator stops her. They begin quarreling, and he accidentally fires his gun, shooting Cassie. Disoriented at how the night is going, he stumbles backwards in shock, but drives off with Maddie. Thankfully, Broker arrives on time and begins pursuing him. After several minutes of an intense chase, Gator crashes into Broker, making his car somersault. The police have already surrounded the place, but Gator gets down with his gun, walking straight for Broker. Maddie tearfully yells,
Daddy! Dad! Are you okay?
She begs Gator to stop and not hurt him, but Gator is determined to finish everything off. He turns the gun in her direction, ordering her to get back in the car so she doesn't see what he's about to do. He threatens to shoot, but Maddie just stands there crying and begging. Using this distraction, Broker comes out and attacks Gator, causing a fight. In no time, he subdues Gator and points the gun at his head. However, when he looks up and sees Maddie's face, he's unable to pull the trigger. He tells Gator,
"She just saved your life,"
before releasing him. Afterward, Cheryl is arrested while Cassie is wheeled into the ambulance. Broker and Maddie begin heading home, while Keith and the others go to pick Gator up. Sometime later, Danny receives a visitor in jail, but is stunned to realize it's Broker. With a cruel smile, Broker says,
"See you on the outside, Danny. I'll be waiting,"
before walking away. Well, no one messes with him and goes free. And that, my friends, is how it ended. If you've made it to the end, hit the like button, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next recap.